Two, how we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo. This is another episode of YoHoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Friday, April 10th. We have a 15-game NBA card, every team in action. I'm gonna walk you through my thoughts and let you know which sides I like, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. Recap of yesterday, right back in that win column, I went 4-2 on the 6-game card. I was a little hot because Trey Jones ended with 6 assists when I had him for 6.5, but besides that, a solid day overall. I'm now 34-32 on every game played in April. We have 30 games over the next couple of days, so my record will obviously swing in the month a lot. 15 games tonight. A lot of these lines are pretty efficient, but I did my best to find the value in the madness. Without further ado, let's get right into it. In our first matchup of the evening, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers in Atlanta taking on Atlanta Hawks. Hawks are minus 350 on the money line, and the total is 233.5. It's actually funny because I swear the Hawks became who the Cavs were supposed to be. We used to see Cleveland as this young and dominant team, but these days they're fumbling spreads and happy to just make the playoffs. The Hawks are that up-and-coming team, and we made a boatload of money betting with them during this win streak. I definitely see Atlanta winning this game, but I'm not rushing to the window to lay 8.5 points. Rather than taking a side, I'm looking at the total. We just saw this same matchup on Wednesday in Cleveland, and I mentioned the same thing. There aren't many defenders on the floor. I guess you could say Dyson Daniels, but besides that, both teams are loaded with scoring threats. The Cavs average 120 points per game, while the Hawks average 118, so that would set us around a 238 expected total. We cashed with the over in that last game. I'm going right back to the well. I'm taking the Cavs and Hawks over 233.5 as my first selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Detroit Pistons in Charlotte taking our Charlotte Hornets. Hornets are minus 295 on the money line, and the total is 226. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. These are two of the up-and-coming teams in the East, and I'm curious to see who's legit and who crumbles. These are typically two higher-scoring offenses, so I am a little surprised to see a 226 total. That tells me we should see a good amount of missed shots, so personally, I'm looking at a prop. I'm taking Ausar Thompson to go over 4.5 rebounds. They're giving generous odds at minus 105, considering the guy averages 5.8 on the season. He's gone over this line in 6 of his last 10 games, and the last time the Pistons saw the Hornets, he grabbed 8. I'm gonna lock it in as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Miami Heat in DC taking on Washington Wizards. Heat are minus 1900 on the money line, and the total is 246. Both teams come into this one on the second leg of back-to-backs, the Heat fly in from Toronto while the Wizards remain at home. Both teams got their asses kicked last night, so I would say the rest factor is about the same. I was definitely concerned to see the Heat get blown out in back-to-back games by the Raptors, but at the same time, you know they're looking for a get-back against the worst team in the league. The Wizards are sitting a majority of their starters, and that makes sense because if they lose out, they'll have the best odds at next year's #1 pick. The only way I see DC getting active here is through a backdoor cover, so I'm personally isolating this one to the first half. The Heat should get out to a hot start and coast in the second half. I'm taking Miami laying the 10.5 in the first half as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the New Orleans Pelicans in Boston taking on Boston Celtics. Celtics are minus 1800 on the money line, and the total is 223.5. The Celtics come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from New York back home to Boston. They lost the game last night as we expected, but Jaylen Brown is listed as questionable tonight, so there's a chance they're back at full strength. At first glance, I was a little surprised to see the Celtics as this big of favorites, but it made sense when I saw the Pelicans injury report. DeJounte Murray, Trey Murphy, Zion, and Yves Messi are all ruled out, then they've got a handful of guys listed as questionable. End of the day, the Celtics are locking into that playoff form, and the Pelicans are obviously waving the white flag. I'm taking the Celtics laying the 16.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Philadelphia 76ers in Indiana taking on Indiana Pacers. Sixers are minus 1100 on the money line, and the total is 233. Both teams come into this one on the second leg of back-to-backs. The Sixers fly in from Houston while the Pacers fly home from Brooklyn. Surprisingly, we saw two opposite outcomes last night. The Pacers got the blowout win while the Sixers got beat up by the Rockets. Obviously, I expect Philly to lock in tonight, but I'm definitely not rushing to the window to lay 15 points, especially with Embiid out. I lean towards Indiana getting the cover, but rather than taking a side, I'm looking at another prop. I'm taking Quentin Jackson to go over 3.5 assists. They've honestly got this priced wrong. The Pacers are sitting all of their main guys, so right now, Quentin is their starting point guard. He had them looking competitive in spots, and ever since he got the starting nod, he's gone over this line in 5 of his last 7 games. You've got Obi Toppin as the easy outlet. I like the spot. I'm gonna lock it in as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Toronto Raptors in New York taking on New York Knicks. Knicks are minus 260 on the money line, and the total is 219.5. Both teams come into this one on the second leg of back-to-backs. The Raptors fly in from Toronto, while the Knicks remain at home. Both teams got the win and covers last night, but I would say I was more impressed by Toronto. They had to take on the Heat, who are clawing for playoff seeding, and they got their second blowout win in just the last week. Shout out to the Knicks for getting the win and cover last night, but it was a favorable spot with Jaylen Brown being out for the Celtics. It was also a closer game, so all of their starters ended up playing over 30 minutes. I'm really not excited to fade the Knicks in New York, but that's the way I have to play this one. Toronto's back at full strength, and when I look through both lineups, they're clearly the deeper team. More of a lean, but I'll lean to the Raptors plus the 6.5 is my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Brooklyn Nets in Milwaukee taking on Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks are minus 470 on the money line, and the total is 218. The Nets come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Brooklyn to Milwaukee. They got blown out by the Pacers last night, and looking at their injury report, they're trying to get that number 1 pick. Sitting almost all of their guys, they probably get blown out here again. Milwaukee's currently in the 11th seed in the East, tied with the Bulls in 12th, so I'd assume they want to lose this one as well, but tonight they're bringing in guys like Ryan Rollins, Kyle Kuzma, and Miles Turner. Probably a game I'm staying away from altogether, but based on the current lineups, I see the Bucks airing them out. I'm taking Milwaukee laying the 10 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Dallas Mavericks in San Antonio taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs are minus 1900 on the money line, and the total is 235. It's tough to fade the Spurs here. Wemby and Castle are both listed as questionable, but the Mavs IR is even worse. Najee Marshall, PJ Washington, and Brandon Williams are all listed as doubtful, then Cooper Flagg is listed as probable, so hopefully he plays. The only way the Mavs even compete here is if Coop has another huge game, but he's dealing with a wrist sprain, so it's going to be tough to get up shots and make sharp passes. If there's any chance Wemby plays, I have to ride the hot hand. I'm taking the Spurs laying the 17.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Orlando Magic in Chicago taking on Chicago Bulls. Magic are minus 1100 on the money line, and the total is 242.5. I have high expectations for the Magic at full strength, but 15 points is a big ask. They've only covered this line in one of their last 15 games. The Bulls are sitting a majority of their guys, so I understand it, but at the same time, Trey Jones can easily get hot, and Chicago ends up losing it by 12. Orlando's a top 10 defense, that's really their bread and butter, so rather than taking a side, I'm isolating this one to the Bulls team total. It's set relatively high because we've seen them scoring a bunch of points recently, but that's against teams like the Wizards and the Pacers. Now up against a bunch of taller defenders, no way they get over 110. I'm taking the Bulls team total under 114 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder in Denver taking on the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are minus 600 on the money line, and the total is 231.5. I was tripping when I saw the Thunder as 12-point dogs, but then I saw the injury report. The Thunder have the top 9 guys in their rotation all ruled out. I won't even list everyone off, but just know nobody's playing. The Nuggets should get it done, but we've also seen the Thunder's third string compete in weird spots like this. Rather than taking a side, I'm looking at another prop. I'm taking Aaron Wiggins to go over 19.5 points. He's going to be the leader for OKC out there tonight, and I've personally seen this guy have a 40-point game when everyone else was out. He's a real hooper, he just plays his role on a team stacked with talent. I'm gonna lock it in as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Memphis Grizzlies in Utah taking on Utah Jazz. Jazz are minus 165 on the money line, and the total is 248. These are obviously two of the worst teams in the league, so whoever loses it probably benefits more. Both sides are sitting all of their starters, so in terms of a side, you could damn near flip a coin. More than likely a pass for me altogether, but I'm leaning towards the under. There aren't many consistent scorers on the floor, and they have this one set pretty high at 248. We have seen a lot of these meaningless games go over, but I genuinely don't see how these rosters get me 125 points apiece. I'll lean to the Grizzlies and Jazz under 248.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves in Houston taking on Houston Rockets. Rockets are minus 510 on the money line, and the total is 222.5. The Rockets come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, but no travel as they remain at home. They were able to secure their 8th win in a row, and we cashed with Kevin Durant getting his points. I mentioned it yesterday, but the Rockets chose a perfect time to lock in. They've secured the 5th seed in the West, and they're tied with the Lakers in 4th, so we'll see how these last couple games go. The Wolves have Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert out. They should get their asses kicked in Houston. I'm taking the Rockets laying the 10.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Golden State Warriors in Sacramento taking on the Sacramento Kings. Warriors are minus 470 on the money line, and the total is 228. The Warriors come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back. Not much travel, but they do go from San Francisco to Sacramento. They got their asses kicked last night, but Steph did sit out, so if he plays tonight, he'll be on fresh legs. We just saw them play the Kings in Golden State on Tuesday, and the Warriors won that one 110-105. We cashed getting the 15.5 with the Kings, but that was mainly predicated on Steph Curry being out. He's listed as questionable tonight, but I'd imagine they want to get him in playoff form, considering they're going to need to win 2 play-in games in a row. We're getting an even better number in this game. I say the Dubs roll. I'm taking the Warriors laying the 10.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the LA Clippers in Portland taking on Portland Trail Blazers. Blazers are minus 120 on the money line, and the total is 226. I'll definitely be tuned into this one. The Clippers are currently 2 games ahead of the Blazers in the 8th seed, so a win tonight would flip the standings. Both teams are going to be locked in, so I see why the line is only 1 point. I honestly see it as an even matchup, so rather than taking a side and guessing, I'm rolling with another prop. I'm taking Kawhi Leonard to go over 26.5 points. He came up short in that last game, but I have to run it back. He's now averaging 28 points on the season, but the crazy part is he got that up about 2 points in the last couple months. He's been locked in during this lead up to the playoff run, and he's gone over this line in 5 of his last 10 games. A few of those were blowouts. When the game is competitive, he's usually scoring 30. I'ma lock it in as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Phoenix Suns in Los Angeles taking on Los Angeles Lakers. Suns are minus 140 on the money line, and the total is 218. The Lakers come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from San Francisco to Phoenix. They got the dominant win last night, and here, they should keep the momentum rolling. At full strength, I might be able to look in Phoenix's direction, but tonight, Devin Booker is ruled out, then Jalen Green is listed as questionable. They already don't have the deepest lineup, so up against LeBron in that playoff killer assassin mode, they're fucked. We just saw him turn up the intensity last night against the Dubs. This should be light work for the King. I'm taking the Lakers plus a 2.5 as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Big card today. Let's knock it out the park per usual. No games tomorrow, so I won't have a video out, but I will have daily episodes of my MLB segment, The Ballpark Show, coming in the next week. I appreciate all the support so much. What a ride it's been. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'ma catch y'all. Peace.